So, hello everyone. As you guys might know, I enjoy painting tiny faces. And today, I'm going to paint some more tiny faces. Starting with this guy. For absolutely no reason at all. Hi, Fenric. Yeah, of course. There happens to be a Death Watch team coming out in the near future. So I've got some colors. I just grabbed like random flesh tony colors out of the box. I might need like something a little more yellow than this. Probably something kind of grayish. Here we'll grab a blue also. But we're going to paint some heads here. So I've got two to start. We'll see how far we get. I've got this guy, who's pretty cool. And I've got this guy, who I want to do like, he's going to be pretty normal. I mean, he's got a big scar across his face, but pretty normal Space Marine head. And then I've got this guy who I am thinking, so he's going to be an Iron Hands. So I'm thinking something kind of Darth Vader without his helmet look to him, you know? Because he's more machine. So I'm just going to start throwing some colors on the palette. I might not use all of them on one face, but I can start like mixing tones and things that I want. As I build my color palette. So just various tones. You could mix them all yourself, whatever. I'm just going to grab a few different things and build various skin coloration as I go. The names on the bottles are not super important, okay? Well, that's wet. Palette's really wet on that side, so let me try and stick over here somewhere. Okay. So this guy. You can see on this dude that he's got a pretty nasty scar that runs across his face. And right now, it's a little too heavy looking for me. So I will add this in back later. But for now, I just want to mix some tones for the shadows. Ice Billow. And we will build up to something appropriate. And I'm going to move this slightly this way and shift the camera like that so I can stay under the camera. So like always, doesn't matter to me what the scale is. I start by just blocking in the light and shadow, okay? So here, I want to make sure that I get some nice shadows on the lower portions. Onto the back of his head a little bit. This might end up changing also as I go, because depending on what hair color I give him, I will shift that tone, right? But for right now, basically, that's the light and shadow. So then I'm going to grab a more neutral kind of color. Hi, Gary. And start to build the general lights. Okay, so you can see I didn't leave like super deep shadow in the scar or in like around the nose. I want to eventually build up to that. We give him that manly jaw. This is definitely an area where I see people overshadow this sort of part right here. If you want to get that strong jaw, you got to put some light here, okay? Now, I'm going to take these two in a mix and add a little bit more red to the intermediate color and start to bridge these two. Okay. I'm not worried about the eyes right now either. I think a lot of people try and leave the eyes like super black. I think it's overdone. All right, so don't go trying to make the eyes too dark. Just get the sort of general shape of the face. All right, something like so. And these are tiny, so we're going to immediately jump to using the glasses because I need to be able to see what I'm doing. All right, making sure I get good coverage. Who's seen the previous video? Anyone? What's that? All age, hello. So a few people, cool. All right, so we're going to start to now map in using this intermediate tone, right? We're going to start to map in some of the smaller volumes of the face. So areas like the nose, right? We could start to define this scar a little bit. We're going to start putting a little more red around the cheeks. Okay. Hi, Steve. All right, so we start to define some of these smaller areas. Okay. Let's push the red a little bit more on the lips. Now, so you should be able to see, like, he has pretty good just general shape to his face now, right? I need to adjust some areas, like around his temples. I will then come back and add some light just like I did with the jaw. But normally I wouldn't necessarily paint this like blocky, right? But I want him to be a little more blocky just because of the face shape, right? I think we kind of associate that blocky shape to the look of a space marine. This very Arnold Schwarzenegger, you know. Yeah, I'm going to take some of the brown here. I'm going to mix the blue instead. And you can see when I do that, look how desaturated this gets compared to using the like skin tone. So similar value here between these two, but this is much more gray, right? Oh yeah, what would you call Warhammer 40K? Like Space Marines, like hyper masculinity, you know? Brother. Okay, so just by shifting that a little more desaturated there, we get some different tonality. Extreme testosterone. Hi, Gordon. So extreme. All right, so let's push the light now a little bit more. I'm going to use the little bit of a warmer light for his forehead. I'm trying to accentuate some of the like shape of the skull underneath, okay? All right, something like that. one thing we're going to want is this to be like it's pretty contrasty because we're dealing with a head that's like this big, right? So we need to sometimes overdo the contrast just a little bit, just so it's a little more readable. Okay, now I'm going to take some of the pink. All right, let's see. Keep mixing, just mix. The thing about painting these spaces, right, is you don't want to just use linear colors, okay? Something I see a lot is people tend to just like use 3 colors, right? So light shadow, midtone, or light midtone, shadow highlight or something. And it's the same across the whole face. You'll get a much more interesting look here, right? Much more natural sort of skin if you like use different different colors, right? So here, and now I can kind of get that temple shape in, sort of start to connect this. Okay, we want to round this over a little bit. So once you've got the sort of base down for the face, right? You can see how quickly I got just like the base layers down. Now I'm going to start working like much thinner. So you could call them glazes or whatever. I just call it layering and thinner layers, right? So I'm going to start to try and make much more like nuanced shapes. Okay. Building up layers progressively through thinner and thinner paint and getting nice smooth transitions in these softer forms. Any questions so far? This is why I don't like step by step to face painting. I don't think you get a natural looking result from a step by step, like, oh, do this, wash, whatever. You know, if we want to get a realistic looking face, we have to make adjustments as we go. Ooh, lead white. You have no idea. Well, I think you have a pretty good idea, actually. Here's the other thing. All right, I'm going to give you guys another tip on face painting. Faces don't have hard, like, don't edge highlight your faces. There shouldn't be any hard edges. All of the highlights and stuff are going to be nice and round. Okay, so now we're starting to get some, you can see we've got some good color variation, some good general shape down. Now we want to push some highlights more. So see in here, instead of like highlighting the whole brow like a line, I'm creating a little round shape. Same with here on the forehead. Right now he has this scar, and I'm going to have to paint around that eventually. But I'm thinking of the structure underneath. And creating form that way. This should be a fun lead. I've taught a class on Space Marine faces at a few conventions. I'll be teaching it at Nova also. And I think people tend to come out of it pretty excited and, feeling pretty good about the results they can get. I think a lot of people get intimidated by painting faces. They think it's much more difficult than it is. Okay. With the scar, get a more edge style highlight. We'll get to the scar. Don't worry. We will get there. So another thing I want you guys to notice. Look at that, I don't highlight, I'm not bringing the light too far down on the jaw, okay? I think this is a thing people really tend to miss when painting faces, is that they bring the light too far down on the jaw. The jaw rounds over, even if you have a very sharp jawline like him, right? And then that rounded over, okay, the shadow starts a little higher. So that transition starts more on the front of the jaw than on the bottom. It doesn't really make sense for light to wrap around underneath the jaw, okay? All right, so in here I need to adjust the light on his cheek a little bit. Hi, Maverick. Okay. Then we will continue to connect some elements. Cool. I'll see you in Montreal. should be fun. Okay. It's going all right, but I think we can push the light more. First, let's blend the forehead a little bit. I'm gonna exaggerate the shadow, this like the rounded bone of the forehead just a little bit. Make his brows a little more protruding. Got a bit of that Cro-Magnon brow, you know? On that super testosterone. Yeah, my foot is falling asleep. Focus. This is driving me nuts seeing that on camera every time. Okay. Let's push the light more. More. Dude, I love my egg handles. Check this. They are excellent. The tiny one is not my favorite. I like the medium and the large one. Well, if you exclamation point tools and use the discount code, what is the discount code? Crap. Hold on. I should include that in the chat message, huh? No, that's not the right video. This one I'll say. Oh, it's just Eric Swinson, all caps. For 5% off your order. All one word, all caps. These, I think, are important little tiny details. See this like little tiny highlight in the corner of the mouth? We can create some, you know, give them a little grin. Okay, we need to bring up the light a little bit up here. He needs more light on his ear. All right, let's figure out what we want to do with this scar, right? So we're going to take some of the red here and we are going to just get that nice and red. So right now it's way too dark. Okay, so it makes it look like a fresh wound instead of a scar. So we're going to pull that back a little. Getting it, you know, it's more pinkish. Then we're going to take some of the pink and we'll add some of the blue. We're going to make a nice desaturated pink tone. Nacho Gonzalez, thanks for the raid. We're going to put a little highlight in the scar so it thins it out super thin. Hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo va tu? ¿Cómo fue tu transmisión? Hi, Pato Handmaker. Right. You can see we do the tiniest little changes to the nose to define the nose shape there. One thing that's bothering me at the moment is there's a line that's a little too dark at the top of his nose between his brow. All right, so we're gonna reduce that just a little bit. We want this little bags under his eyes, but we don't want them to be like super dark. We can make them a little stronger on one side. I think tends to work better on like faces of the scale. I think what we definitely want to avoid is like painting them as just like U's, okay? Like I said, we're trying to avoid hard edges here. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this scar with a slightly more reddish tone. I'm going to extend it a little bit further because I don't like how it sort of just stops here. So I'm going to actually like bring it down towards the jaw a little bit more. I could cut a little further on his face. How we doing? Okay, now with some pure of this like off-white, I'm gonna give a little bit more highlight to the nose. Just a tiny bit more on the forehead, give that little bit of shine. Okay. And shine. There we go. All right. Where else do I need just a touch more? Just a little bit more right here, and then we'll give them a little bit more on this cheekbone. I want to round this over a touch. Okay, so you can see here, instead of drawing just like an edge, right? Trying to add a highlight, but it's like a quarter or a half circle. Right, so I don't want it to go all the way across. I want it to be rounded, but I can't make it a complete circle because his eyelid would block that. Okay, so very small adjustments at a time. Right? So something like that. Then we need to blend his chin a tiny bit more. Just square it out a little bit. Okay. No questions. Everybody's just super concentrated. You're welcome, Scott. All right, and then soften this just a touch. Okay. So one more little touch I want to do here is I'd like to get the shadow of his cheek just a little bit more reddish. Not too much, but so instead of the brown, okay. I'm altering the color to a more warmish shadow. Pray I don't alter it any further. All right, and then I'm going to take some of this guy. In like a real thin glaze. Hi, Adam. I mean, honest orc. How are you? Imperinos. Hello. All right, what color hair should we give him? Yeah, man, Nova's going to be fun. Speaking of, I can say, I will not be on stream next Wednesday. And by I will not be on stream, I mean I will not be on I will not be streaming here. I will be streaming on the Warhammer YouTube channel with Adam, I think. Or not the Warhammer YouTube, but the Warhammer Twitch channel. So I will be on the Warhammer official from Nova. Hi, Aaron. Hello. Welcome in, everyone. Hi, Jam Jam. Hi, Thaden. What is the name of the game for today? The name of the game is Painting Space Marine Heads. It's Space Marine Head 2 Black Templar Boogaloo. Hi, Useless Wizard. I don't know if I want... blonde? No. Because I have a blonde planned. Like a very light blonde. Thanks. Thanks, Polaris and Krelshand. Oh, what do you guys think of this? So everyone knows the I have a very light blonde character planned. So I think for this guy, I think we might just go with like a brown. What chapter will he be for? The Black Templars. This is a Black Templar head. I need a... Speaking of black... Yeah, we can go with like a brown. But I want to start with... I'm going to get a black here. And just line around... I think this head comes from the Black Templar upgrade sprue. I like the head sculpts in all of the Black Templar set quite a bit. Ooh, can you do the Rucker Hauer Blade Runner style hair? Isn't that like pure white? It's like platinum blonde, isn't it? You guys think this is a democracy? I'm just taking suggestions. This is a dictatorship. You're merely advisors. I can listen to them. I'm also... I'll look it up. I'll look up Rucker Hauer's hair and see what I think. But it won't match the beard. What brush size is that? 1 or 2? It's a 3. An S3. The best brush. The best general purpose brush anyways. Thanks. The Gundam was fun. All right. So now we've got that blacked out. You're voting Imperial a kill on the side of the head. You want me to give him a tattoo? Would a Black Templar have a tattoo on their head? What's the next big project? What's the next big project? I don't know. Wait, that depends on what you're asking. Big project, all right, hold on. I need to look up Rutger Hauer Blade Runner. Oh, it's like literally white. He looks cool in the rain, but then he looks weird in other scenes. I feel like it's just going to make him look like an old man. And I don't want him to look like an old man. If I find a sculpt with a crazy widow's peak. A tattoo, huh? You know, if I was actually going to do a tattoo on him, is the artist opus site? No. Artist opus tends to run, they do more incremental numbers than Winsor Newton. So like a size, it's probably closer to like a 2. Well, everybody telling me to make him blonde. Fine. Fine. But I'm not doing platinum blonde. Okay? We'll do like a sandy blonde. Then we'll save platinum blonde for another face. So you want this Space Marine to be a young man in a chapter of Astartes? Oh. YMCA if you get, well, young man. Young man. No, I don't want him to be super young. I just don't want him to look old. We'll allow that one. I don't know. I guess the lion would be this guy's Primarch. No, that's not right. Rogodorn is. Ah, see, before you guys could correct me. Could nerd finger me in time. I know my chapters. Self-correction. Thanks, MF Doomer. How are you? Yeah, they're Imperial Fist successors. Though like 90% of the chapters are Ultramarine successors, so I can understand why you would get that confused. All right, so we're going to take a bit of this color here. We're going to mix these. We're going to mix this up. We're going to make a blonde. Turns out blonde, not very yellow, okay? Don't put too much yellow in your blonde hair. Because a known Sigismund enjoyer. I have painted 2 Sigismund. That's in fact true. An Imperial Fist one and a Black Templar one. I actually only agreed to do a second one if we did a Black Templar one because I didn't want to paint the same character twice. And when you change a Space Marine's color of their armor, they're a different character. So. Dave, you dropped a figure? Nice. I'm going to assume it was just a sculpt. Like just a 3D print. Okay, so dude, they're way more fun than I thought they were. Or than I thought they would be. So here, after I did a little light, I'm going to come back and glaze it a little bit to get some of that color back because the white desaturates it really fast. So I'm filtering the color back on top. I need a slightly darker. What do I have? What is this? No, I don't want that. Here, we're going to take some copper brown from... If I can get it open. There we go. Just a little bit of this guy. This is an express paint, but I'm using it more like a glaze. So I'm not going to flood the area. I just want to use this to tint the hair color a little bit. You say it was an ink? No, it's an express color. It's like contrast paint. Contrast paint will work the same. They're similar to inks, but they have nice transparency, so you can use them like filters. I'm a little confused on this part of his head. I think this hairline is actually goes back further, just a tiny bit here, because of where his scar is. And then we will take some of the white again. We will build that highlight back up. Oh, dude, I painted the Raveners with a bunch of express paint. It's very convenient for certain stuff. I stand on the firm opinion that it's not important how you get the result, just that you get the result. How do you do the eyebrows? Carefully, yes. We don't want to have to talk about Reddit and their claims of cheating with an airbrush again. I don't know. I feel like the Templar heads are some of the best Marine heads GW's done. They are. But looking at their haircuts, I reckon their barber is from Australia. Dude, somebody needs to sculpt the sweet mullet. Somebody needs a little party in the back. Yeah, they do have weird haircuts. I think a lot of them are meant to be reminiscent of like monks and stuff. And yes, I would agree that they are easily some of the best sculpted faces. Alright, I don't want to do too much to the highlight on him. If I push it too far, I might actually highlight this here just a touch more and then glaze it back. Again. Like a little more highlight focused in that area. Artist Opus feels a little more flexible. Interesting. I don't think so. I think they tend to be a little pretty snappy. But I haven't used a Winsor & Newton in a long time, so. I don't think they're as good as they used to be. I stopped using them probably like, well, it's definitely before COVID. Probably back in like 2017 or something I stopped using them. All right, just a touch more red in the ear. Okay, that looks pretty good. Obviously, I haven't painted the eyes yet. Do I even feel like trying to do that on camera? Not really. To do the eyebrows, I'm just going to take a mix of the brown and the yellow, and I'm going to paint a thin line. Nothing fancy here. Just get a... Like, if you look at me, mine are not super visible, right? Leave a little gap for his scar. Leave a little gap. Okay. All right, it's good. Here we go. Ready? Red. Dark red. Bam, in the eye. Then we're going to take this plus this. Some brown. Okay, we're going to aim him for like a light grayish pink skin tone. What was that? Measured aggression low. And Lartaru 07 Parallax. Thank you guys for... Oh, thanks for the Prime and for following and all those things. Appreciate it. All right, here we go. Ready? Boom. Yeah, that one's bad. See, I didn't do a good job on that eye. Ugh. What a noob. Man, his eye is, that eye is tiny. He's getting a little, the Rock expression going on, you know? He's got a little people's eyebrow. Cooking Xenos, that's what he's cooking. Alright, so I'm not gonna obsess over trying to paint like crazy pupils in his eyes. In fact, I want my other brush. Where is it? Where's my other brush? Where's Tiny Pointy? Tiny Pointy, where are you? Tiny Pointy, are you over here? No, that's not you. You're too big. Where's Tiny Pointy? Tiny Pointy, did I find you? I found him. Look how pointy this brush is. It is not. It is a flat point. It is not an M series. It's an FP series. So you can do things like that. That one was slightly too big. But that's okay. We can fix it. You want me to just give him a whited out eye? I can do that. I can do that. Come in. Oh, why want this eye is so damn small. Keeps wanting to get on his upper eyelid. Yeah, don't paint on the eyelids. That's weird. Drives me crazy when I see people paint the eyes on the eyelid. Like, what are you doing, dude? And there we go. Now he's got one messed up eye. I need to fix a little bit. There we go. One, besides painting the whatever you call this stuff, his black carapace and things. One face down. Just curious, did you get? Not yet. We're still waiting on it. I got a weird. Well, my roommate got a weird email. Did you guys, when you got shipped the expansions, was it like, hey, you're getting the Gambler's Chest and all this other stuff, and like the core set and all these other expansions? That's what his shipping notification said, and I was like, that's weird. It's probably just saying that because, you know, that's what the thing was. But he did get shipping notification. All right. We're gonna do one last little thing. One more little thing. We're gonna give him a scratch across his nose. Just a little one. I don't even know if that's visible. Not really, no. Whatever. All right. one down. Actually doesn't even really make sense. I'll fix the other eye later. What bothers me about the white eye is if he actually lost his eye, they would just give him a bionic one. Lore, bros. You guys gotta think of the lore. So I'll fix it later when I can literally look at it from like 3 inches from my face. All right, that's one down. We'll do the, I'm gonna take a quick break, and then when we come back, I will do this guy. So we went from that, or from, you know, unpainted to pretty decent looking one. What do we think in comparison? This is one I sketched in class. It's bad. Here's some other heads, by the way. These are, I think, regular intercessors. Probably some assault intercessors too. This one's pretty good. My brother asked, and I said I would. So, my brother runs a non-profit called the Financial Foundation of Virginia. It helps to provide free financial education to Virginians, but he is changing it to a national thing. So it's now changing it to the Financial Foundation of America. It gives like free online courses to help with financial education, financial literacy, help you planning and stuff, you know, help people that are living day to day. And he is working on raising some money to buy a license for the financial platform. And if you guys want, or something you would be interested in seeing, or I am providing a link. He's asking for just $1 if you want to provide. I'm trying to copy the link into my clipboard so that I can then paste it elsewhere, but it's being weird. There, copy. That is a really long link. But if you guys are interested or would be so kind as to provide or give $1, I would be thankful, and it would help my brother out. So, thanks. Now we can get back to painting. So, Darth Vader-esque skin. How are we going to pull this one off? So we're going to start with a similar tone, but we're going to use more cold colors this time. We're going to go paler and more desaturated. Almost undead looking. I know the Aussies are probably like, what? Then I'm going to add more of the blue, some of the white. So we're going to skip a lot of the yellowish tones that we have in the other skin tone, right? So here we're using more of these pale reddish tones. Okay. I don't know exactly when. Financial Foundation of Virginia. I believe that the website is already, so he's already changed the website. Here's the actual website. So he's already got the Financial Foundation of America.org domain. So if you want to learn more about the organization, you can check it out there. I don't mean, I will speak on his background for a second. So do you guys, so people in America will probably know what this is, but do you guys know what Rent-A-Center is? Or was? Are they even open anymore? Some still are. So he was the vice president of Rent-A-Center. Like he started in the company and he, I think, it's a pretty predatory company to be honest. So I think he was, had a moment of realization of like, you know, these, the customer base, like he started as a sales associate and then worked his way up. And I think these like rent to own businesses, and came to the realization like the people that are the customer base, don't have the financial means, and they get trapped in these loans and everything. So he now seeks to provide financial education to people that have not received it, so they can hopefully get out of debt and other things, that kind of stuff. Do you guys have anything like that in what's it called? Australia? I gotta tell you what it was. So basically, it's a rent-to-own company that like rents furniture and stuff, and it's for people that can't afford to just like buy furniture, but then you end up getting like stuck in paying interest payments on furniture that like you'll never own. By the time you end up paying off this couch, like you've paid way more for it than you would have otherwise. Morning, JC. All right, so I just wanted to black this out so I could see the contrast here. He could talk way better on this subject than I could, but all right, let's put the glasses on. So I want to add some more reddish tone specifically around the like mechanical parts. Okay. So it's like adding skin irritation. All right, so we're going for a quite pale. Like it might not look like much of a difference right now, but when you see the two together, you can kind of get a sense of more where we're going with this. Hi, Richard. Okay, we're going to start to add some like bluish tone. Oh, we've got a nasty hair. Hold on. A little dust particle. So even more gray. Boss makes $1. I make a dime. That's why I poop on company time. That's true, I am my own boss. Yeah, what if I just told you guys that this bookshelf and everything's just in the bathroom? Dude, you guys think VTubers are constantly just like pooping? Every VTuber is secretly just on the can. Trying to see what's going on here. I think this is more mechanical bits. Oh, sorry. How much money do we have to give Eric that he gets his own VTuber? No. That will not be happening. I will not be having a digital avatar. Thank you. Hard pass. Perfect timing. I'm painting my first Space Marines ever right now. Well, welcome to the fun. The world of excitement of painting Space Marines. And painting tiny faces. Never gonna happen. See you later, boy. Is anybody else like me where they just see someone doing VTubing and they go, nah, I'm not watching that? I'm prejudiced against VTubers. What is a VTuber? It's the people that use like motion detecting or face tracking like digital avatars. So instead of me in the corner, imagine I was an anime cat girl painting a space marine. Just untap Marga. Is there though? Yeah, what if I was a cat girl with gigantic assets? I did too. I'm very happy to see Ricardo in Africa. We'll be working for Verco's. Yeah, but if I'm a VTuber, dude, I could get a voice changer. It would be so kawaii. Never Russian. That's too far. I know too much about anime to be a successful VTuber. Do I? I don't feel like I know a lot. I know about anime from like the 90s. Ask me something about anime from the last like 20 years. Working on any comp pieces coming up. Me? Yes. Am I going to tell you what they are? No. The NFL. I have watched, I think, 2, maybe 3 in the last like 10 years or something. I have watched One Punch Man, which was pretty good. I have watched Edge Runners. That's about it. I've seen I did see Castlevania. I guess if you consider that an anime. And it was pretty good. Well, the first season was. The Spice of Life. Hello. Welcome. Thanks for following. Come on. Focus. All right, here's what we need. We need just a little bit of blue. We need a little bit of blue. Just a touch. Just a smidge. We're going to take some of the skin tone. Like this would be way too blue right now. So we're gonna gray it out a little bit. There we go. Glad to see you streaming. I had no idea. I think we met at, well, it must have been MMCA because I have not been to MMSI. So if it was one of them, it was MFCA. I see that. Well, I definitely go to Nova, which I will be at next week, all week. So we're going to give them We're going to make them a little veiny. Because it looks creepy. It is all dependent on the when Labor Day is. Because it's always Labor Day weekend. So Labor Day is always the first Monday of September. And Nova is always the weekend before, or the week before Labor Day. If you're looking to figure out when the time is. All right, is he appropriately iron handy now? Nice dead skin tone on this guy. Gotta watch out, dude. These iron hands, they're gonna end up with cyber psychosis. Yeah, basically. That's kind of the idea. Similar skin tones to like a vampire skin. Because then my kind of thought was, or inspiration behind this sort of skin tone was unmasked Darth Vader, you know? Seems appropriate. Oh, they do the, what's it called? I think they kind of do. They talk about the Iron Hands like basically like losing touch with their humanity. Give him his service studs. Oh, on camera. Stay on camera. Stay on camera. They came from behind. Boop, 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 boop. One more little highlight on the studs. It was too much. There we go. Got his service studs. Who's that? Who is that? Eternal Flame First. Hello, welcome. Alright, so we got a creepy boy. Would you say Warhammer is harder to paint to a high standard than Buzz, for example? Harder? No. I think they both have their challenges. I don't think one's harder than the other. Time consuming? Can you explain the challenge? No, I mean, like, so typically Warhammer tends to be, I would say it's less time consuming, but I know some people go crazy with the amount of time that they paint on smaller figures. The Warhammer is, yeah, you smaller, you have to be a little more precise, I would say, just because of the scale, though you can get extremely precise with larger scales. I think it's equally, I think readability is like super important on a small scale, where, you know, volume interpretation and things tend to be more challenging. I think you can be more nuanced on larger scale models than on Warhammer scale models, just because of the size that you have. Not that you can't be nuanced on a small figure, but, you know, this is not to the same complexity as something like this, for example. Right? A little different painting a head like this than painting a head like this, where this guy's nose is the size of this Space Marine's head. You know, so there's different challenges. Okay, here we should zoom out so you guys can get a realistic perspective of what we're dealing with here, right? Painting this versus painting this head, right? Just a little bit smaller. Do you guys remember the Gundam some of you remember Yes. Yes, baby stabler. The Gundam. A bunch of people apparently thought that was like one of the larger scale ones, like a 1/144th or something. And I was like, no, dude, that's a little guy. That's a little guy. We could paint another one. I've got quite a few. And let's see if anybody's super Warhammer knowledgeable and will know which Space Marine this is. Can anyone identify this exact face? Dang, Diego, that was fast. It was speedy. Eric, do you have a favorite out of all the pieces you have painted? Favorite of every single model I've ever painted, or favorite Space Marine? All? Yeah, absolute favorite? Not exactly. I have favorites. I mean, my favorite's probably Bane. That's the one I won't sell. Mr. Bloodhoof. Any tips and tricks how you spend so much time painting? Posture, physical exercise, anything like what helps you long session? Yeah, I do have tips. So the way I paint on camera is not the way I paint when I'm not on camera. So when I'm not on camera, I tend to not lean over as much because I lean over because of the camera. So normally, like here, I need to stretch my back out, but normally I'm sitting more upright like this. So I tend to keep like a more upright posture. I like to keep my hands together and my kind of elbows in. I find this keep my back straighter. I don't like the leaning over the desk thing. I don't think this is good for your posture. Get a good chair. If you not like a race car chair, you know, like a gamer chair, like get a good office chair, right? Stretch like your wrists and your fingers. Okay. And then I like to take a break, typically like once an hour, to do bad things. But I will like get up and stretch and move around. Speaking of, seems like a good time to. No, the bad things is the things that I'm doing direct damage to my to myself when I go to stretch my back and relax my eyes. Like I will go outside to smoke and I will like try and like stare into the distance and stuff. So it relaxes, trying to relax my eyes, refocus, and yeah, stretch it out, move, you know. All right, so I will be right back. So we're going to go with a different skin tone for him. Slightly different. Dude, the middle distance was great, dude. You got to stare into the middle distance. My neighbors behind me keep their TV on all night. So I just watch whatever the heck they're watching on TV. Well, they're not actually watching it, but yeah, they have 2 dogs. I think most of the time it's just on cops. And this is why people's animals end up becoming racist towards certain demographics, because their owners leave them watching cops all night. Think Ventress would be more clean shaven? I do. He's a captain, right? He was demoted to lieutenant? Lieutenant? Well, he's demoted to sergeant in my army. In my... what I'm painting his head for. Oh, yeah, you're thinking of Titus. Captain Titus. Question, how much of a warning do you think we will have before you do another Saturday virtual masterclass, if you do one? I was really bummed I missed the last one. I mean, I printed a bust that looked like myself alongside everyone else. So they're in spirit. Yeah, I mean, you'll get plenty of warning, heads up. Just join the Discord. That's the best place to find out about these things. I always announce this stuff in the Discord. Look at that. People are using the commands. So we're doing the same deal here, right? We're just getting the general shape. Now moving his head slightly this direction, right? So this guy, he was slightly this way. This is like centered. Ventress, we're doing it slightly from the other direction. Like that I can get the highlight up here by his service studs. little bit. But he's so manly. So I'm going to soften the cheekbone a little bit right here. I don't want it too harsh. I'm going to pull that light on the jaw down a little bit though. Square that jaw up. So manly. Well, anybody excited for Dawn of War 4? I never played 3. I was 2 was my favorite. Force Commander. Yeah, never played 3. I'm not a big RTS guy in general. I like 2 because it's like control small, like the squad, more squad combat. You know, I just realized something. I'm going to do something. Don't worry about it. Don't even think about this. Okay? What I'm doing here? Just ignore this for the purposes of this video. There's a reason I'm doing it. Why is he doing that? What is he doing? Why is he putting a really harsh shadow on one side of his face in particular? There's a reason. I'll show you. Well, I'll show you why. I'll show you what the idea is, okay? So we need a color here. Here's it. Where is it? How long ago you bought your headphones? I bought them in my old job. It's been super long. A long time ago. Like 8 years ago or something. Maybe more. Yeah, they're good. Why would he be doing this? What could he be thinking? It is possible that this head goes on a body with a specific type of weapon. some kind of green glowing weapon. Got a turquoisey glowing weapon. That'd be crazy. Eric, you're out of control. What are you doing? That doesn't exist. Nah. So, because skin, let's assume that there's some sort of plasma pistol off to the side of his face. Like he's like this. Skin is very neutral in color. It's actually quite gray. Like in the grand scheme of colors. So it tends to pick up color quite well. It reflects quite a bit of saturated tones. So when you do OSL on skin, color changes a lot depending on what sort of material it's reflecting off of. But skin tends to pretty heavily reflect certain, like any color. So we get some nice by intentionally making that shadow side darker, right? Give some nice room to create some glow on the side of his face. And everyone loves a cool OSL effect, you know? Who doesn't love an OSL? doing OSL without the object. It's okay, I know exactly where the object is. I know where it is. If you know the Area of Interest figure, then you also know where it is. I just swapped his bolter for a plasma pistol. Because plasma pistols are cool, man. Sometimes they blow up in your face. Nope, cannot. Sorry. For reasons. I will. gotta soften that shadow under his jaw or his cheekbone here. I don't want him to look too skeletonized, you know. If it's too sunken, it looks kind of weird. Okay, and then fix his chin here. What was that movie? Was it Small Soldiers? The one about the action figures that came to life? Every Space Marine has Small Soldiers proportions. The Gorgonites, was that what the enemies were called? I think I've seen that movie one time. They were the good guys. Oh, the soldiers were bad. Maybe I've never seen that movie then. I feel like I remember parts of it, though. What chapter are these hands for? Oh, the heads. What chapter are these heads for? This guy is an Ultramarine. And this guy is a Black Templar. And this guy is an Iron Hands. Uriel needs a little butt chin. He needs a little bit of a cleft chin action, you know? They're all best friends. Yes, they are. Brush control is... this man has a deal with the ruinous powers. Nah, dude. It's just practice. It's just a ton of practice. And... yeah, I have steady hands. That helps too, I guess. Do you find magnifiers are required for that level? For me, they are at this point, yeah. I know, like, so Albert Moretto, Slayer Sword winner, 2-time Slayer Sword winner, and multi-time gold winner. Uses them just to check. Like, he just inspects with them. He doesn't paint with them on all the time. But even he uses them to, like, check to see how things are going. I find that, yeah, I need them when painting at this size. Well, that's his hair. I should just paint his hair real quick. Do 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 do. Let's just get some of the base coats down. I also didn't paint his ear like a goofball. For some reason, my brain went, nah, that's not an ear. That's the, like, thing that goes over his head, you know, or like on this, you know, like on this side. Okay. How's he looking? All right. I feel like I could give him just a little. I want to give him just a little more curl to his lip, you know? Anybody read the books with him? He's like a pretty big character in the novels, right? Is he cool? He's an ultramarine that thinks outside the box. The Codex does not support this action. I just gotta fill this in back here. And then get this covered. Sir, the Codex does not support this action. So get his hairline right there, you know. You want to make sure you get that little cut in, you know. If you look at this side of my hair, right, it's a little harder to see because my hair is long, but it goes back and then comes down and then cuts towards the ear. So it's like 3 lines. A horizontal line across the top, and then it cuts down, and then it curves back towards the ear. Does that egg shape? Dude, I love the egg. I like the big egg. The big egg is my favorite. But this one's not bad. It's good for painting tiny stuff like this. But if I was doing like long work, I prefer the bigger one. Exclamation point tools. If you want to get one for yourself. They will have them at Nova. Yeah, this small one is the one I use the least. It's really only good for like parts. maybe like one of those tiny mouse slings, but even then I'd probably put like I'd probably put it on a bigger figure. Or a bigger egg, I mean. I'm liking him. Man, see, this is what I'm talking about. What I'm saying, dude, the face sculpts. They're so much better than they actually look. Throwing a little shade here. The heavy metal style does not accentuate or show off the face sculpts of these figures very well. This face is actually like pretty well sculpted. Are they light? This one's really light. This one's got a little weight to it, which I like actually because it counterbalances the figure. Doesn't torque your wrist as much. I normally just use an actual cork. I don't have an actual cork here. But a lot of times I just use like a little cork for tiny parts. Boom, 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 boom. Wine corks are nice. Actually, champagne corks fit in the big one. So, actually, I've never tried if wine corks fit in the medium one. Do I have a medium one over here? Nope, they don't fit. At least that one doesn't. I don't know what color Uriel's hair is, so it's gonna be brown black. Use the discount code Eric Swinson. That's Eric Swinson, one word, in all caps, for 5% off your order. Wow! That's your entire purchase. Black? Okay, cool. Then that works. Then I can go with like a grayish brown black here, which will contrast well against the there's a word. The blue glow on the other side. Right? So yeah, we're gonna go pretty dark with his hair here. We're just gonna put some highlights. Oh, boop, boop. Yep, that's the sound it makes when you put highlights on. Just a little boop, boop. And when doing black like this, you don't want to overdo it, okay? Like, don't overdo the highlights, because if you do, the hair will just start to look gray. We don't want him to have gray hair. We want him to have black hair. So you want pretty small little areas of like final highlights, okay? Like something like that is enough to give him like a shiny, sort of shiny black hair. Then we take some black, some of this turquoisey color. We can put some glowy shine on his hair. Cool. Let's do this real quick. Just because I think it'll make it look cleaner. Right. Okay. Push some glow onto his earpiece. We'll push the light just a tiny bit more on the what looks like metal parts of his make them look kind of shiny. There you go. One Uriel Ventress face. I think he has a scar. I don't really like it because it goes across this eye and it's going to interfere with the glow. So I'm probably going to just ignore it. That's right, guys. Just ignore your problems. How's it going for you, Flapjack? All right. Working out. Ta-da! I didn't paint his eyes yet, but that's okay. You saw me do it on the other one. So, we've got one with a glow, right? So notice the neck piece that's supposed to be rubber is not as bright. That's intentional. And his hair's not quite as bright as the metallic parts or the skin. Okay. We've got Black Templar Man, who I need to go back and fix his eye. We've got Darth Vader here. Couple things I probably want to touch up on him, but that's all right. I think you get the idea. And I think we got 3 pretty unique looking results, 3 different sort of effects. Yeah. Cool.